I am really digging the backgrounds that I'm seeing. Casey, I've got the same Muhammad Ali photo in my man cave at home, and Rip's got like some old baseball black and whites on his wall. Kind of looks like
Yes.
a little bit like Jim Thompson's office. And we're waiting for Ruben. There we go. There's Ruben's college photo.
Oh, that's great.
Ah!
Ruben,
That is awesome.
dude, that's what we call a Jufro.
Tina, are you impressed?
That is impressive.
Mine's a little nappier than that.
Oh, I wish I had one of me. I've got a great one on my old college ID where I've got hair down to my shoulders.
All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so I thought 10 was the max. Google tells me 15 is the max. So I'm wondering if that's it. Other people can just join through YouTube, or if we can push the envelope and get some more on here.
Well, I think we've got a good kind of critical mass for at least the dynamics of the discussion to work out the way I'd imagine. So,
Yep.
Are we live? And are we broadcasting or what?
We are live. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Great. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. The Marcoms call on a Hangout for the first time, and it actually seems to be working pretty well. And I'm impressed with the way Kelly and Casey have been able to manage this. The reason we're doing this is because I was also really impressed with the program that Kelly put together for training trainers by Google Hangout. A couple months ago, she invited staff to join those, and I did join one of them. I know Marty was in a bunch, and I just thought it was a terrific way to meld some of our marketing messaging and what happens in workshops, and kind of marrying the content of our workshops and the marketing content strategy, or I should say the content marketing strategy that we're pursuing. So we've had a mantra here since early in my days that the content is the marketing. And to the extent that PCA workshops change hearts and minds and get people to mentally buy or emotionally buy, you know, the workshops themselves are a form of content marketing. So I thought that made sense then to bring Kelly's Train the Trainer program into this Marcoms call. And what we want to do, as soon as I shut up, is to have Kelly show the way she's actually training trainers via these Hangouts, and also that'll give you a little bit of view into the mindset of the trainer as he or she is, getting certified, and what sort of knowledge and questions come up that they need to consider in order to be great trainers. And it'll also give us all just a little bit more exposure to PCA content, and maybe spark some of our own thoughts about how we use that content in our communications with the different constituencies that we're all appealing to, whether it's PM, PSM, trainer, or CED. So we're going to turn the bulk of this over to Kelly to actually go through the way she trains a trainer, starting from the introduction of the Double Goal Coach workshop. It might help if you have a question to just raise your hand in front of your face to get Kelly's attention, so she knows that you want to interject, because if you try to speak over each other, that causes problems. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly, and we'll see where this takes us for the next 45, 50 minutes.
All right. Thanks, DJ. I appreciate that. Is there anybody that has never been on a Hangout before? Put your hand in front of your face. No. Now, I want you to be serious, Ruben. Is there anybody that has seriously not been on a Hangout before? Okay. If you have not, I know a lot of you are muted right now. DJ asked me to run this as if it were a train the training call that I do with the new trainer candidates. So when I get started sort of going through what we do in a workshop, I'm going to ask you to be the participants. So I'm going to treat you just like you were the coaches, and I'm going to ask for some participation. I'm not going to ask you to, turn to a partner and talk. It's not like the Brady Bunch where you just turn to the square and can talk to someone. It'd be cool if it was. But every time you're on a Hangout, when you speak or you cough or your dog barks, you're the one that shows up big on the screen. So when we're asking you to participate, just turn off your mute and raise your hand, and I can call on you so that I know that you want to talk. Because, as you said, if two people talk at once, you don't hear anybody. So that's where we're at right now. Does anybody have any questions before I get started? Okay, thanks. Well, just in a little introduction here, my name is Kelly Kratz, and I was hired back in February as part of the lead trainer team of Ruben and Eric to train new trainers. We have chapters that you guys are expanding rapidly, and you're booking workshops left and right, and it was sort of a panic, like we don't have anybody to fill them. So we needed to come up with a system to be able to screen and train candidates so that they're thoroughly trained, but also screened really well, because we don't just want to throw anybody out there. We wanted a full program that they could go through some steps, get them ready to present live in front of an audience, and then decide if they're actually ready to be a trainer on their own. So this trainer course was developed out of that, and we're now actually starting. Yesterday was the 4th round of trainers that have gone through here. Now, interestingly, every time I get names from a lot of the partner managers or chapter executive directors, at the end of the course, sometimes I get pushback saying, okay, where are my people? And the reason that every single name you give me doesn't go through the course is that it is strict, and it is stringent, and it is time consuming, and it's difficult. Ruben and I and Eric at the end go through and watch a mock presentation. And that's the first step to becoming certified. We have trainers that go through their mock presentation, and we still don't feel that they're ready. So after that, they go to being an associate trainer and have to present with someone else. So the point of me saying all this is that we love the names coming in, but it's not a guarantee that they're going to be a trainer. I try to work miracles everywhere I can, and I'm sure Ruben does also, but we just want to make sure that we have the best people out there. All right, questions before we go? All right, what I did want to do real quick, though, before we get started, Marty, I think you're the only one that I see on the call that went through the course. If you don't mind, what I'd like to do, Marty was one of the staff that was in the last course, and she went through the whole process from discussion questions to Hangouts all the way through, and Marty, congratulations to her, is now an associate trainer. So I just wanted to find out real quick, Marty, if you want to just give your 2 cents as to, as a partner manager, how will this help you in the future, or how has this helped you already?
Well, of course, it's always great to just get a refresher on all the material and all the content, but also just to hear from a trainer's point of view what they go through, and then kind of social cues that you see during workshops, knowing like when to talk, when to shut up and listen, things like that. I really picked up on it. Because, all of us have been to workshops probably plenty of times and seen them, but actually getting up and presenting them is a little different, So just being able to, know exactly how to connect with an audience, when to share certain things, how to share certain things, all that was just a great experience to go through this course, and also to hear from other trainers and people that are looking to become trainers. That was also great. We got a new trainer in SoCal, so I got to actually see him go through this whole process and just kind of get to know him as well. All those things I think were really helpful for me personally. So.
All right, thanks. Okay, well, what I'd like to do then is just start off by giving you a little bit of background on how we start with the trainers. And Ruben, if you want to jump in at any point, just wave your hand and let me know. One of the things that I like to do right off the bat when we start this course is explain to all the people that are coming in that they have been put into this course for a reason. A lot of the people that we get through, recommended by you, a lot of you, or have come to a workshop, they have incredible backgrounds in sports. I am just blown away, even by this last class, this class that started yesterday of 16 people. The background that they have in athletics is amazing. And what I stressed to them in the very beginning is that anybody can memorize a book. Anybody can stand up in front of a PowerPoint screen and go through each slide, and I call it death by PowerPoint. Anyone can do that. But as Positive Coaching Alliance trainers, we want this to be an experience. We want the coaches to walk out of the room having been filled with inspiration and motivation to go out and be better coaches. And that's really where bringing the workshop, your experience as a person to the workshop is so important. So one of the things that I stress to all the people in the training is that I don't want you to spit back for me the ELM Tree of Mastery. I don't want you to just show a video and then say, okay, that was Steve Young talking. I want you to make it interactive, energetic, and pull in your experience. So right off the bat, we talk about the SMAC recipe, and I know a lot of you are familiar with that. At the very beginning of the workshop, I believe that the first 5 minutes of a workshop, you're either going to gain the audience's attention or you're going to lose it. So the very first assignment that I give to all the candidates in this training is to tell me your why. Why are you even here? Why do you bother? Why is PCA even important to you? So what I'd like to do with all of you, I'd like to take 3 people. And, I think other people have called it your elevator speech. I don't really call it the elevator speech to the trainers, but what I say is, why bother? Because there's hundreds of thousands of coaches in the world that are doing a great job, and they probably will never hear of Positive Coaching Alliance, and they'll probably continue to do a great job. There's other ones that are out there thinking they're doing a great job and are doing more damage than good. So why would anyone, you specifically or anyone else, why would you want to become a Positive Coaching Alliance trainer? And I'm going to ask the person who thinks they have a birthday closest to today, whoever that is in the crowd, to share with me your why. Why are you bothering with Positive Coaching Alliance when you could be working anywhere else? Whose birthday is closest to today? Fess up. Raise your hand if your birthday is in December. All right, Tina, you win.
So coming up on 15 years with PCA, I think what it really has to do for me is that it's about teaching so much more than just the sport, but just the life lessons and the character traits that we can impart to kids when sports are done right. I can't think of a job that's more rewarding with bigger impact on society. And it's a pleasure every day to feel like I'm not actually going to work, but getting to sort of change something that's so important to so many kids and so many families.
Thank you. That's great. Tina, could you call on somebody else to share their why story?
Yes, Brandon, I'd like to hear your story.
Sorry, I had to take it off of mute.
Okay.
I think one of the main things that, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm Brandon. I'm the PM out in Houston. I think one of the things that really sticks out for me when it comes to PCA is kind of reflecting on my own experience. I'm coming to PCA straight off of my my college days and my playing days, and for me, I always had going through youth and high school, I always had great coaches and great teammates. And for me, it wasn't really until the college ranks I really started to hit the struggle that you hear about a lot. So for me, it was something that kind of made it much more real for me, that I finally hit that struggle. And then that's also where I got introduced to PCA, was at school as well. And so whenever the position opened up, it was something that just kind of made a lot more sense to me, because I'm not naive enough to actually believe that everybody has the perfect youth experience that I had. I knew it was something that was always around and was always happening to others. It just wasn't happening to me. And so since I did eventually go through it a little bit, it just kind of spoke to me so much more about what is the impact that we can have, what are the things that we can do to really help to train and provide more resources and tools for people to where it's not happening as prevalent.
Great. Thank you very much. And Brandon, call on one more person.
I might call out my fellow Houston person, call Casey out, since I see she joined us.
Casey, did you hear that?
Casey, you're in my office. I know you're here.
Yes, I'm here. Pretty much going, through my history of sports, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've experienced it all. and and then also seeing my niece and my nephew in their youth sports through their t-ball days, and there was a lot of red flags and things that shouldn't be going on. And you know, my connection with Ben, I just felt this was a great fit for me to come in and try to, you know, move forward and help, you know, all the youth sports get kind of the experience that I got.
All right, thank you. So all the trainer candidates then, that's one of the discussion questions we do in the very beginning before the course even starts. What is your why? Why are you here? What are you doing? Every time somebody stops you and sees a Positive Coaching Alliance jacket or something, and you say you work for PCA or you're a trainer for PCA, as I said for many, many years, they say, what is that? And I always used to say, well, we present workshops to coaches and parents and athletes in order to make better athletes better people. We're trying to change the culture of youth sports, yada, yada, yada. What I learned was that's what we do. It doesn't get to the why of why we do it. And so we really like, as trainers, to bring that why out there. Why is it so important that we spread this message? What's going on out there in the world that this message is not being heard? And so I like to keep that in the back of the trainers' minds, because when you are a presenter, you're giving information to someone. I want you to open up your brain and take all this information in. When you're doing a workshop, these people need to be interacting with their own experience so that they can, I'm getting distracted by comments, that they can be part of the workshop. So one of the things we always do right off the bat is explain that this is a workshop. We'd like you to be involved. We want you to pull in your experience and your own questions, and we're going to go from there. So I'm going to get started. Part of the way I'm going to be trainer, and part of the way I might stop and explain sort of what I teach as the trainer of trainers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everybody on board? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thank you. Okay. So one of the things I'm going to start off with is the Double Goal Coach 1 PowerPoint. Now, the other thing is I've changed it slightly, and I know it's going through some renovations right now, or revisions. It's going to be a little bit different coming up. So I have a few slides in here that aren't in the basic, but this is my intro, so I'm going to share it with you. And different workshops that you've been to, you've probably seen trainers add a little bit of a different flair. So this is mine. It is slightly different. So I'm going to get started. Right off the bat, we're going to start off with text to sign in. Here's what we're going to do. I want everybody to grab your smartphone, iPhone, or grab your neighbor's smartphone or iPhone, and we're going to text to this number on 3. Are you ready? 650-763-2405 is the text number. Don't do it now. It won't go anywhere, guys. What you're going to include is the number of this workshop, 555-1212, your first name and your last name in the subject, and then your email address. And that is our high-tech way of saving trees and getting your information to the PCA headquarters as quick as possible. So that is, you all guys are on the cutting edge of new technology. If you do that correctly, you're going to be rewarded right away with an instant email or an instant text right back saying, you did it, you're enrolled. If you don't get that message back, you did something wrong, elbow your neighbor and ask them to help show you how to do it. So that is our text to sign in. First thing I'd like you to do, you've all been invited to come to a Positive Coaching Alliance workshop. I don't know how many of you are like me, but as I look around the room, I see a lot of arms crossed, I see a lot of tired, I see a lot of coffee, and I see a lot of this. Because you're probably thinking the same thing that I was the first time I was invited to a Positive Coaching workshop. Let me ask you out there. I'm going to ask for 3 people just to call out. What are some things you think that you are going to hear today at a Positive Coaching workshop? Let's hear 3 things. Go ahead.
Motivation.
Motivation. What else?
Don't yell at kids.
Don't yell at kids. Very good. Thank you. What else?
Everyone gets a trophy.
Woohoo! Everybody's a winner. Everybody gets a trophy. Well, actually, when I first heard the term Positive Coaching Alliance, and I was told that I had to go to a Positive Coaching Alliance workshop as a youth lacrosse coach, I was a little disappointed. And I have to be honest with you. The reason was I played 2 Division I sports. I grew up sandwiched in between 2 brothers. And everything in my life from the time I was very young was a competition. So right out of college, I became a 3rd grade teacher. And one of the things I noticed in my 3rd grade classroom was the kids I was teaching had become very wimpy. Because I remembered being in 3rd grade and I could not wait to do anything in school that had to do with the competition. If it was a spelling bee, if it was a math race, whatever it was. So all of a sudden, I'm a 3rd grade teacher, and the very first week of school, I get to go to gym class with my 3rd graders. And I am so pumped up about gym class, because who else gets to go to gym class in elementary school when they're 30 years old? So I run down to the gym, get all ready to go, and I say to the gym teacher, okay, what are we doing today? And he looked at me like, you're really going to do this? And I'm like, absolutely, I'm going to be in gym. It's going to be awesome. I run down to the gym, and he says, we're going to do something called snowball fights. And I said, well, what are snowball fights? And he said, well, we take these huge pom-poms, and we put the kids in 2 teams, and we throw them back and forth to each other. And when they get hit by the pom-pom, they have to stand there and freeze like a snowman. And I said, well, what? That seems like dodgeball? He's like, shh, don't say that word. You can't say dodgeball. It's way too dangerous, way too competitive. We're not allowed to do it. And I said, so it's like dodgeball, but where's the loser's jail? Where's the place you have to go if you get tugged? And he said, you don't have to go anywhere. You just freeze, and then someone else from your team has to run over and unfreeze you. So all of a sudden I thought, okay, the kids had fun. They enjoyed it. Then later on as the year progressed, I realized anytime I did anything competitive in my classroom, if there weren't all winners, my kids would get really discouraged. Now, this was like in the mid-90s when that let's be positive all around big movement hit. Well, then I go out to recess with the kids, and I realized that the kids at recess were trading Pokemon cards. And they were climbing on the jungle gym, but they really weren't playing anything. When I was at recess, we did kickball, we did football, we did all these sports. So I said to some of the kids, why aren't you playing kickball? And they said, well, there's no coach. And I said, well, why can't you pick your own teams? And they said, well, there's no umpire, there's no ref, how do we play? So right off the bat, what I was starting to realize was that the whole idea of being positive, making everybody win, was creating in my own classroom wimps and kids that didn't know how to win, didn't know how to lose. So when I was told I had to come to a Positive Coaching Alliance workshop, the last thing I wanted to hear was everybody gets a trophy, everybody's a winner, because I was afraid that competition was being taken out of sports. And competition is what made me successful in life. The definition of positive coaching is actually different. It's creating an atmosphere that supports the best possible performance. So when I heard that, I perked up, because what I was excited about was getting more performance out of my athletes that I was coaching. I wanted them to be the best they could be, and to be honest with you, I wanted to win more games. How many of you would like to win more games as a coach? Anybody out there? Yeah, absolutely. We're all for winning. We've got to go about it the right way. And what I learned was some of the methods I was using to motivate my athletes were actually doing more harm than good. So when I sat through an hour-long Positive Coaching Alliance workshop at 7 o'clock after a long day, and I was tired and I didn't want to hear it, I ended up having so many aha moments that after the workshop I went up to the trainer and I said, I think what you're doing is great. I'd love to hear more about it. And he said, great, you want to be a trainer? Let's sign you up. So that's why I am where I am today. All right, I'm going to show you a quick clip from Kevin Durant. He was the 2014 NBA winner, and he's going to tell you he aspired to. Yes.
Who was your trainer at that workshop?
Mike Harris, who was from New Jersey.
Oh.
I don't believe he's a trainer anymore, actually. But
look at this gift that he's left for PCA. It's fantastic.
Well, he actually said to me, he drove 2.5 hours to do a 30-minute or to do a 1-hour workshop. So I was in Pennsylvania, and there were no trainers there. So as soon as he heard that I wanted to be a trainer, he was like, yeah, great. Let me get you in touch with Eric Eisendrath. So
awesome.
Now, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear this. This is a quick clip from Kevin Durant, someone that was an NBA Most Valuable Player. What does he want to be when he grows up? This is what he wanted to be when he grew up.
My dream was to become a rec league coach. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay home and help the kids out and be a coach.
That blew my mind when I heard that. Why would somebody at his level want to be a rec league coach? Why would he want to go back and coach little kids? I actually had the privilege of being able to coach a Division II basketball team right out of college. Then, a couple years later, I was teaching in an elementary school, and they needed a high school coach. So I went back and coached high school field hockey, and high school basketball and high school lacrosse. And then years later, when I had kids, I decided it'd be much more fun to coach my own kids. So I had sort of a demotion, as some would say. But I can tell you, any of you that have ever coached at a high level and then gone down to coaching youth level, the higher level was much easier. So even Kevin Durant, he wants to go coach the little guys. He wants to coach the young kids. All right, so what I want you to do is think about this. I want you to think about some coaches that you've had in your life. And right now, I'd like each of you to take out a little piece of paper, and I want you to write down the initials or the first name of the most influential coach that you ever had in your life. I just want you to write down their name. Take a second. Okay, now, in a workshop, what I would do is I would ask you to turn to a partner. Now, what I usually do in my own workshops, this is for your sake, is I ask all the coaches if there's 20 or less coaches in the room, or even 30 or less sometimes, depending on the setup of the room. I will ask all the coaches now at this point to stand up, and when I tell you to go, you're going to arrange yourselves in order of how many years you've been coaching. So if you've been coaching, this is your first year of coaching, you're going to stand on this side of the room. If you've been coaching for 5 years, you're going to be right there. 0 to 5 years, 10 years, all the way across the room. You make a timeline all the way across. And then I will post this question. So with the coaches all standing there with somebody in their experience level, they will turn to the person to their right or their left and share with them who is the most influential coach in their life and why. Now, what I'd like to do is have 2 of you share. As I said, I can't have you talk with each other, but I'd like 2 people, if you wouldn't mind, sharing who is the most influential coach in your life and why. Now, here's another thing I would do. Sometimes adults don't like to share, like some of you. So what I would do is bring up something like, whose birthday's in December, who has more than 2 kids, who went to this high school, who never played soccer before if it's a soccer workshop. I bring up some kind of a qualifier so that that person cannot refuse to participate. But with you guys, what I'm going to say is, has anyone here never eaten, let me think of this. Has anyone here never eaten sushi? Anybody in the group? Really? All right. I, proud Pennsylvanian, have never eaten sushi. So I always bring that up because I want to see if there's somebody else. Has anybody here ever been to Asia? All right. Ruben, could you please share for me who was the most influential coach in your life and why?
Yeah, it was a guy by the name of Sal Rodriguez who coached us at the local boys club that I grew up at. It's now the Boys and Girls Club, and you know, he made us better baseball, football, basketball, soccer players, and he just really worked hard to keep us on a healthy path in life.
All right, thank you. So what did he do, Ruben, what do you think would you remember the most? You said put you on a healthy path to life. What would you say is more specifically, what did he do?
Well, when I showed up at the boys club, for example, he'd ask me about school and what we had done in school. He emphasized, I don't remember specifically how he did this, Kelly, but he emphasized no matter what age you were a role model for the younger kids in the club.
Okay, thank you. Ruben, could you pick someone in the group that you've never met in person to share the most influential coach in their life?
Sure. How about that Ripper guy?
You've met me before, Ruben.
He's acting.
Well, my most influential coach was my dad, who's pretty much the coach of everything I did. Tennis, wrestling, football. So I would have to say it was my father. And he was not necessarily a double goal coach, but he was still influential on my life, of course. And so, you know, it depends on how you define influential, but he was by far the most influential coach for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Ripper. And I'm glad that you pointed out we actually purposely have the word influential coach. I think a while back it used to say who was the best coach, but what we've learned is that sometimes the most influential coach doesn't always have to be all positive. But one of the things that we have found in coaching is that we tend to coach the way we were coached. And that's the way we do it, because that's the way it's always been done. I once heard a quote which I thought was fantastic. I had a man that told me the reason he coaches is because of the influence of his mentor coach and his tormentor coach. And he blends those two together, and that's how he became the coach that he was. And I thought that was just fantastic, because I think as a coach for myself, I think about the best coaches, and that's what I want to emulate. And I think of some of the worst coaches, and I definitely don't want to be like that. So what I want you to think about right now is when you are finished coaching, someday you're going to hang up your cleats and hang up your whistle and you'll be done. And people are going to be sitting in this workshop. Other kids that you've maybe coached over the years are sitting in this workshop, and I'm going to ask them the same question. I'm going to ask who is the most influential coach in their life, and they're going to say your name. I would like to know why. Why do they think you are the most influential coach they ever had? And basically what I'm asking you to think about is how do you want to be remembered as a coach? So again, The people in the workshop, you all have this book, and I'm going to ask you to open up to the blank cover. And I want you to write how you'd like to be remembered as a coach. Just 1 second. I'm sorry, 1 sentence. Take a few seconds and write down 1 sentence how you'd like to be remembered. So then everybody, if you'd like to do that, you can write that in your book right now. How do you want to be remembered? The one thing that I give out at every workshop is a sticky note. I go around and I pass the sticky notes out, and I have a little paper that says, please take a sticky note. The one thing that I'm going to ask you all to do right now is not to share out loud how you'd like to be remembered, but I'm going to ask you to write it on a sticky note. Because this is something that after I was asked to do this at a PCA workshop, I had down that I wanted to be remembered for being a fun coach. That was number one for me. I wanted the kids to have fun, and I wanted them to leave practice in a better place than they started. So I had that on my sticky note. And as a coach, I was coaching lacrosse. The kids would leave. I had this perfect practice plan. I had everything down to a science, and practice didn't go as planned. The girls were disappointed. They were frustrated. There was some backstabbing going on. The drills didn't go well. It was just not a good practice. And I had a note with how I want to be remembered as a coach stuck in my car, on the dashboard of my car. And what I noticed is I was sitting there in my car, and I was gritting my teeth, and I was angry that these girls were not doing what I asked them to do. And I was watching them walk past me in my car and walk to their parents and leave. I was looking at them, and I was thinking, oh, I can't believe they didn't do what I asked them to do today. And then what I realized when I looked at my sticky note is that I looked in the rearview mirror at myself, and I realized a lot of the actions were from myself. I was the reason that they weren't the best players they could be that day. I was probably the reason that I didn't bring out the best in them, because as a coach, you have a lot more influence than you realize. So let me show you another video from Steve Young. Steve Young is an all-star football player. Coach played for the San Francisco Giants. Let's see who he remembers in his coaching.
Your athletic career is most impacted, I think, by the first couple of coaches that you see in your youth sports. That's how you start to model in your mind how you deal with adversity, how you deal with team, how I fit within the team, all those concepts. And so I think my coaches, the most influential coaches, my first couple, who are parent volunteers.
How many of you are paid big bucks to coach what you're coaching right now? Huge bucks. Able to quit your day job. Okay, none of you. Yes. Most of you are parent volunteers. You are not getting paid a dime. You are here because of the love of blank. What is it? What's your love? What's your passion? Why are you here? That is your sticky note. That is your philosophy. And what I'm going to ask you to do is do exactly what I did. Write it on a sticky note. Keep it in your car. Keep it in your book. Write them all over the place. Because sometimes when practice doesn't go well, look at it and say, was that the kind of coach I was today? So I'm going to give you a lot of different strategies, ideas, tools that you can bring with you when you leave this room that you can share with your players, share with the parents, share with the other coaches that you're coaching with to get the most out of your players. Well, where did this all come from? Let's talk about this for a minute. I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis. Our company was started in 1998 by a man named Jim Thompson. Jim Thompson was an athlete himself, and Jim Thompson, when his son was 6, he decided he was going to coach baseball. Figured how hard could it be. Jim also had a background in education and had a job working with emotionally troubled kids. So he thought, well, gosh, if I can deal with emotionally troubled kids, I can definitely deal with little 6-year-olds in baseball. Well, what he found was he was faced with this. Screaming coaches, parents yelling at their kids. There was a lot of negativity. And Jim said to himself, wait a minute. In my position as a teacher, I know that relentless positivity works. That's what we use on these kids to get the most out of them. Why not in baseball? Why not in youth sports? Because the culture he was seeing was very negative, screaming, yelling, parents not talking to their kids, ignoring them after practice. You all know what I'm talking about. So why not try positivity? And Jim started to coach his team using this relentless positivity. He also was a researcher, and what he found was that most kids were playing sports at a certain age. Of any kid in the country that's playing sports, there are more kids at this age playing sports than any other age. I'm going to give you 3 choices. Is that age 8 years old? Is that age 10 years old? Or is that age 13 years old? If you think that age is 8 years old, I want you to raise your hand right now. If you think there are more kids in the country playing sports at age 10, raise your hand right now. If you think there's more kids playing sports at age 13 than any other age, let me know. Raise your hand. All right, the correct answer is 10 years old. So we've got the population of kids are 10 years old, which is about 5th grade. And of course, you'd all be cheering and happy because you got that right. However, there's a percentage of them that are dropping out by age 13. Now, all of you in this audience, on 3, I'm going to ask you to call out the percentage that you think drop out by the age of 13. 1, 2, 3, go.
70.
I love how all of you are on mute and you all yelled anyway. Yes, 70% are dropping out by the age of 13. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to turn to the person in front of or behind you this time, not next to you, and I'm going to ask you to tell them the number one reason you think 70% of kids are dropping out of sports by the age of 13. Go. Call them out. You're all set.
No fun.
Okay. I hear all your answers bouncing around the room. Excellent. I hear no fun. I hear too much pressure. I hear sports singularization. I hear injuries. They are all correct, but the number one answer is exactly what DJ said. No fun. They're not having fun anymore. What I found was, what I thought my kids wanted was fun. I thought they wanted popcorn, cupcakes, party fun. But any of you that have been athletes, you understand that fun has a different definition. Fun has the definition of being a player who works very hard before practice, after practice, tries the drills, listens to the coaches, tries something new, gets into a game, beats a defender, makes the perfect flip turn, gets faster than they ever had, really makes contact with that ball. At the end of the game, whether you win or lose, you walk out of that game more exhausted than when you walked in, and you walk out of there saying, that was fun. I had a great time. That's the kind of fun we're talking about. That is where kids are starting to learn that effort will lead to results. And it doesn't matter if they win or lose on the scoreboard, they're going to feel intrinsically good about what they just did and how they played. So Jim Thompson, with his buddies at Stanford, figured, I've got one of the best academic and athletic institutions in the country. Let's pick some brains here. He started researching, and he got together with the best of the best in sports. Some professional athletes, some professional coaches. He also got together with people like this. Does anybody know who that is? It's not Woody Allen. Can anybody see who that is?
Jimmy Carter.
Very good. This is
Albert Bandura.
Very good. This is a man that I studied up and down. If any of you are elementary teachers, you studied all about Dr. Albert Bandura. Yes, he got together with sports psychologists because it's better to see what motivates kids everywhere. And let's use that research. So what Jim did was he founded this nonprofit organization. I'm going to show you real quick. This is just a map to show you. We're all over the country. We are actually slightly international too. I believe we've done workshops in Canada. Hawaii, the East Coast, the West Coast. These are where the chapter offices are. We cannot do it alone. We've got corporate sponsorship by some of the big-wig names, and I'm sure some of you have probably played for organizations that have these names. Pop Warner, AAU, U.S. Lacrosse. These organizations are national partners. They're making it mandatory for coaches to go through this training. That's how important they feel it is. We've also got pretty influential athletes and coaches behind us as well. And every year, and actually this is a great time for it right now, if you feel someone embodies what we're talking about in terms of a positive double goal coach, we give a double goal coach of the year award, and those nominations are flooding in right now. So this is a great opportunity. This is Kim Everest, who won the award in 2010. Incidentally, we should update that picture just for y'all. We need to put another one out there. All right, so let's talk about this. Coaches, here's what we need to do. As coaches, you've got a lot of moving parts, okay? What are some of the biggest challenges that we have as youth coaches? I would like to see if we can name 5. What are 5 of the biggest challenges we have as youth coaches? Unmute and tell me what they are.
Parents.
Parents, good job. What else?
Sport specialization.
Good. Say that 10 times fast. What else?
Kids today.
What about them?
They don't know how to do anything.
Be more specific.
They don't work hard.
Okay, kids today don't work hard. That's 3. DJ.
Video games.
Video games, what about them?
Kids care more about video games than socializing with real people.
Although we went bowling last weekend, and my daughter swears it's because she's a really good Wii bowler that she beat all of us. So you got to look at that side of it too. What's the 5th? 5th challenge coaches face?
Opposing coaches.
Good, opposing coaches. So we've got all these factors. I almost consider it, if you remember the movie Top Gun, there's all these things flying at you as coaches. Number one goal of a coach is to strive to win. If you're not in it to win it, you might as well hang up the whistle, because that's why we're all in it. So the other lesson, we've got 2 goals as a coach. The other lesson is to teach life lessons. Well, let's think about these life lessons. What are they? I love The Far Side. This is a cartoon that I love. The life lesson that this coach is teaching his kid says, and remember, it's not whether your dad's win or lose the fight in the stands, it's how you play the game that counts. There's a deep lesson to be learned there. But I'd like to find out from you, what lessons have you learned from playing sports in your life? Now, I'm going to see if we can do 5 more. Give me 5 more lessons that you have learned in life that you take with you. Go ahead.
Teamwork.
Call it out.
Teamwork.
Teamwork. What else?
Discipline.
Good. What else?
Resilience.
Commitment.
Resilience.
Resilience.
Patience.
Leadership.
Very good. Very good. Now, I usually do 10. For you guys, I only did 5. I didn't want to push it too much. But one of the things that I point out is I said, what lessons have you learned playing sports? And in the 6 years I've been doing these workshops, you guys do not disappoint. Never have I ever had anyone say, I've learned how to shoot the perfect foul shot. I have learned how to swing the bat. I've learned how to stop a soccer ball on a dime. Never has anyone ever said that. And you guys didn't either. Why? Because that's not the lesson that sticks with you. There is no better place to learn all the lessons you just shouted out than on an athletic field. And probably the success that you've had in your life stems from the drive that you've learned on that field. So if we're trying to put these two together, striving to win and teaching life lessons, how in the world do we do that? That's a big, big charge to do. Well, I'm going to show you today 3 principles that are going to help you do that. Let me show you a quick model of the people involved in this drama, okay, because this is a drama. We've got better athletes, better people as our goal. We are trying to focus on creating a development zone in sports. Now, some of you might say, development zone, what does that mean? I don't get it. I want you to think about a phone, okay, a cell phone. If I was going to hand all of you in the audience right now a free cell phone, and I said it's only free because it's not quite finished yet. It's in the development stages, but you all can use it, okay, and you all can have it and you can take it home. When you got home, would you expect this phone to do really cool things? Yes or no? Shake your head, yes or no. Would you expect it to do really cool things? Yeah. Would you expect it to be better than maybe your old phone? Yeah, absolutely. Would you expect that there might be some glitches or it might have a few problems that aren't worked out yet? Yes. Why? Why would there still be some problems with this piece of technology that's in development?
It's not complete.
Because it's not complete. Because it's not done. It's not finished. It's not perfect. So even though I gave you all a free phone, you would have a little bit of patience with some of the glitches, some of the unfinished things, some of the problems that it has. And you might even work and work and work and work to try to make it better, but you will not get frustrated with it. Some of you probably wouldn't even scream at your phone. You probably wouldn't even throw it across the room. Why? Because it was given to you as a gift, and it's in development. So coaches, I want you to think about that. These players are given to you as a gift, and they're in development. They're not finished yet. They've got glitches. They've got problems. They do a lot of cool things, and they can help you a lot, and you can help them a lot, but they're not finished. So think of that in terms of the development zone. We've got the coaches who are striving to win and to teach the life lessons, building character in the players. We've got the parents involved. The parents we call second goal parents. They are going to help the kids absorb the life lessons. What was the first goal? Who remembers? What's the first goal of the coach? Everybody on 3, 1, 2, 3?
Winning.
Winning, right. Parents don't have that goal. It's a hard pill for parents to swallow. We want parents to only focus on the second goal, not the first. Leave the winning to the coaches and the players. Wouldn't that be great if every single player, every single parent promised you that they will not worry about winning? They will not remote control coach their kids from the sidelines. They will let you do all of the coaching, and they will sit back and only support their kids with the life lessons. How many of you would jump at the chance to take that coaching job? I once had somebody tell me the most coveted coaching job were the Little League orphans. I thought that was fantastic. Sign me up. Last one, triple impact competitors. We work with our athletes at the high school and college level, and we talk to them about striving for better. We've talked to athletes, and we've asked them, what have you done right? Why are you so successful? And what we found out is this constant striving for better, making themselves better, their teammates better, and the game better as a whole. And that's what we call our triple impact competitors. And the last one are the leaders, the board members, the athletic directors. The leaders are trying to shape a culture. This culture that we live in right now is an entertainment culture. It's a culture where if a player makes a mistake, If a player screws up, you're allowed to scream at them. You're allowed to yell at them. The media is all over it because that's what we're used to in this country. That's okay on the professional level. But at the youth level, the high school level, these kids are in a development zone, and they need positivity to perform. They need to know that it's okay to make mistakes. That will make better performance. And they need to know that they have the support of their coaches and their parents to do so. So here's the principles that we use. 3 principles in our workshops. The first one's called the Elm Tree of Mastery. Mastery, the idea of mastery is to get the best performance out of your athletes at all times. The cool thing about this is, in terms of sports psychology, this is non-controversial. I don't know about you. I was a big education major, and I read a lot of studies. There are very few studies that are non-controversial, and this is one of them, which is super cool. Number 2, filling the emotional tank. All right, so you've got this great idea of mastery. We know how we're going to coach them. The kid's not ready. He's not listening to a word you're saying. You are coaching your head off, and you sound just like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. They're not listening because their tank is so low, they're not hearing what you're saying. And the last one is honoring the game. We take sportsmanship and go one step further. Sportsmanship is where you've got one player with another player, or one player against maybe 2 or 3 that are saying, okay, I'm a good sport. My 6-year-old daughter said her favorite part of the game was the goo game. And I said, what is the goo game? And she said at the end of the game, where everybody stands up and goes, goo game, goo game, goo game, goo game. That was her favorite part. PCA, we talk about honoring the game, and that's got 5 areas. Black and white, no disrespect of those areas. So it's going to be a lot of information in a short amount of time. We're going to get started with this scenario, and we're going to start talking about what happens. I'm going to put you into some groups right now. If you coach 5-year-olds and under, you're going to be over here. If you coach 10 and under, over here. 15 and under, over here, and vice versa. And you're going to split yourselves up into groups, and we're going to talk about this. Jesse hangs his head every time he misses a shot. As a result, he doesn't get back on defense. What do? You're going to have 3 minutes as a group to come up with an answer. How would you handle this at your age level? And appoint a spokesperson. So the spokesperson then at the end is going to share what the group has come up with. All right? Go. And that's how we start into the Elm Tree of Mastery. All right, DJ, I'm going to stop there because we've got 10 more minutes, and I want to open it up for questions, influences, whatever you guys want to hear. Thank you.
Kelly, I wanted to ask a couple different things. Again, you killed this just as you did on the actual Train the Trainer session that I joined. So the first thing that I want to ask you is if you can describe a little bit what the interaction is with the trainers when you're doing this as Train the Trainer, and they're maybe jumping in more than we did with questions about the art and science of training.
What I usually do is go through in these calls that are about an hour long, I'll go through the presentation, and then at the end, I'll leave about 15 minutes for questions. So if somebody has a really pressing question, well, they would jump in, then I do. But one of the things that I do at the end of the calls, at the end of my presentation, is say, okay, what are some other ways to get the audience involved? What are some other ways to group people? How else, what did you notice about the way I was questioning the audience? For example, when Jake said, I talked about the challenges the kids had, and he said, the kids these days. Did I let him go? What did I do?
You asked him another question. Explain it further.
Exactly. There's a lot of people in the crowd that'll just shout out an answer just to get me to stop asking, get me to shut up. Give pushback, challenge a little more. Ruben said something too. He said, yeah, my coach, taught me how to be happy in life. Well, that's too generic. I want specifics in this workshop. Ruben, what did your coach tell you? What did the one thing you remembered about your coach? So that challenges the audience, and it makes people perk up a little bit. So that's one of the things I do, DJ, to just at the end of my presentation, to get people to make it more of their own. What would you do? How would you group them? I said, whose birthday is the closest, but you might have another idea. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One other question I had for you, Kelly, and then hopefully other folks will have a bunch of questions too, is especially using this medium, Hangouts, to train the trainers, how much do you feel they pick up on your energy level? And as you are turning them into trainers, how much do they try to kind of adapt, your energy level, your willingness to be yourself, thus giving them permission to be themselves, how does that get conveyed to them as you're training them, and how does that manifest when they go out into the field?
That's a funny question, because I think everybody else that was watching might be able to answer that question a little bit better on does my energy convey itself. I think one of the things that I do stress in a lot of the trainings is to be yourself. And I bring up examples, and I've also had other trainers jump in on these calls so that they can share some of their experience. All of the trainers have seen Ruben's Double Goal Coach 1, and I talk a lot about, Ruben and I are completely different in the way we present. Eric Eisendrath is completely different in the way we present. We all have our strengths, and I think one of my strengths is I bring energy and humor to a presentation, but I have learned so much by watching Ruben present by his questioning strategies. He's a brilliant question asker, and he really gets people to think at the workshops. So if I tried to be Ruben, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be genuine. I'm frozen here. Anybody else see me frozen?
No, you're good.
Okay. If I tried to be Ruben, it wouldn't be genuine. And if someone else tried to bounce up and down around the room and throw their arms around like I do, that wouldn't be genuine either. So I really want people to be genuine to themselves, but engaging is the key word, and you don't have to be bouncing around like a crazy person to be engaging and energetic. So that's one of the things that I do stress a lot is bring what you have. Bring your magic in the room. Bring your magic to the workshop, whatever that magic is. It doesn't have to be necessarily energy and enthusiasm, but it does have to keep the audience engaged.
Kelly, when you're doing hangouts for associate trainers, do you allow them to turn off their camera so all you see is that generic profile picture during the hangout?
I don't like them to. We have had people that can't be on the hangout, and you can join a hangout by phone. So I can dial their cell phone number, so I've had them join that way. I've had other people that have just had too much chaos going on at home that they've just put the profile picture up. But I don't know about you, I'm a very visual person, and I need to see somebody to talk to them, so I have a lot of trouble when I can't see somebody. I had someone one time say, well, I haven't showered in 2 days. I can't get on this video hangout. And I'm like, I don't care. Goodbye. So don't worry about it. But I do think it's important to especially since these people are from all over the country, and this is the way to make PCA real to them. And I think the conference calls just don't do it, because when you're presenting, it's facial expressions. You've got to see the audience shaking their heads, and if you've got everybody sitting there like this, it's kind of a cue that you need to up the energy level or change your questioning. But if you see people engage, and even you guys, even watching you while I was presenting, some of you were like this, and other people were like totally tuned out. When you're presenting, you have to be able to read that interaction from the audience.
So is it typical, I think at one point we had 15 people on, is it typical to have this many people have the profile picture up? Or is this more than your typical Google Hangout?
Usually I get about 10 each time. This course 4 that just started yesterday coming through has 17 people in it, which is the most that we've had going through at a time. So I think that's going to be a little bit bigger and a little bit more challenging. I offer 2 hangouts during the week. One of them is at noon Eastern time, and one of them is at 8 p.m., noon on Thursday and 8 p.m. on Monday. So usually between coastal timelines, that works for everybody to fit in to one of those or the other. And I encourage them to try different ones so they can get to know different people.
And I was just specifically asking, I see 4 people who have turned their camera off. Is that a typical number, or is that more than you'd usually experience?
That's more, yeah. I usually have, and because I will tell them right there, I want to see your faces. So I usually ask people not to turn their cameras off.
Yeah.
It defeats the purpose of a hangout, really.
I think Katie was trying to say something, so I'll step back now in Jim's terms.
I was trying to say something. Thank you. I was going to ask whether you screen share or ever send them the PowerPoint ahead of time so that they are looking at the PowerPoint on their computer as well, or do you just show it on your computer in the background?
No, they have the PowerPoint right from the beginning.
Okay.
So a lot of times they'll be doing their hangout from an iPad or a phone, and then because a lot of people don't have 2 computers to be able to do this, so they have it. I was telling DJ, I have screen shared before, but the problem with that, and maybe it's technology I haven't figured out yet, but they either see the PowerPoint or they see me. They don't see both. So this has just seemed to be the best for demonstration purposes, but they do have the PowerPoint ahead of time.
And also ahead of time, we get a couple of questions. So we kind of get a feel for what the hangout is going to be about, because it's only an hour, and when you have 10 people and you want to get them to share and everything and give feedback, so we kind of get a heads up on what we're going to be focused on. So that's also cool.
And then thanks, Marty, for bringing that up. One of the things I do too, the questions for the week, as I said, the questions for the week are not, tell me what the Elm Tree of Mastery means. The questions are, when have you been challenged in honoring the game in your coaching experience? Or when have you seen one of the tools from the Elm Tree of Mastery toolkit actually work for you? So in the Hangouts, what I'm trying to bring out in these trainers is not the slides, but what stories are you going to add into your presentations to make it real to the audience. So at the end of the Hangout, or during a certain time, I might say, okay, can somebody else share their Elm Tree story? Can anybody share one of the things that you brought up? And during the week, I'll have them, I ask the participants to comment and read each other's comments so that, as Marty said, we have that background ahead of time going into it. If somebody's, blew me away, then I might ask somebody, oh, Marty, could you share that? Because I loved what you wrote down this week about that. All right. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead, DJ.
Well, because we're coming up on noon Pacific, and in theory are supposed to be winding down, although I'm happy to stay on for as long as anybody else wants to, I wanted to begin to put a bow on this, and hopefully you guys have seen, number one, just how fun these Hangouts are, and as Kelly continues training trainers that way and inviting staff to join, I really hope you do. If for no other reason than fun. They also happen to be really educational, get you more in tune with our content, get you more in tune with what the trainer is experiencing, and give you different ideas about how to communicate to your constituents based on the training experience. And I think Tina chatted during this about how she wishes now we were all in the same office. There's a tremendous amount of esprit de corps that can be built up through joining those Hangouts and seeing how many great people our movement is reaching, and how many great people are joining our movement. And you wouldn't necessarily get a flavor of that just by looking at the numbers of workshops that we're doing. You get a real sense of quality of the people we're bringing in here, and how they're adopting our mindsets and taking it out to the kids.
And as he said, any of you are invited. With this course too, the Hangouts are going to be Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then noon Eastern time on Thursday. So if any of you would like to join the group, I can just add you to the group so that you can get messages and memos about those. And this time I'm actually going to be able to, I'm going to record all of the Hangouts. So they're all going to be, there's going to be a YouTube link for any one of them, so you can always go on later and watch them too as a resource. I'm going to have them available. So thank you all. That was fun.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
I'll be on for a couple minutes if anybody has any questions, but if not, have a good